We're going to be upon the golden age of Bitcoin mining. We're finally out of China. I'm so glad we're out of that place. And we're going into a place. Look, it's not like North America is like perfect, but I'll take it over a communist regime any day of the week. And especially if we can, get it here where we can hopefully have legislation, and then we can stop that debate about renewable resources and everything else, because you can actually track it here. You can't get a lot of information out of China. Well, you can here in North America and EU. So this was a little snippet. I'm just going to have you listen to it and tell me what you think in the comments section. This, I think, is pretty great.
Meanwhile, has plenty of energy problems, but Bitcoin mining does not seem to be one of them. Kate Rooney is live in Rockdale, Texas to explain. Kate, tell us what you found. I see lots and lots of servers behind you.
There's lots of servers. You could probably hear the buzz of these supercomputers here in Rockdale, Texas. They're stacked about 20 feet in the air, and I'm looking down this hallway. It's about 4 or 5 football fields long. And some in Texas are worried about what more buildings like this could mean for the Texas energy grid. The miners, though, say that they shouldn't be worried. Energy here in the state is among the cheapest in the country.
So first of all, the reason why it's the cheapest in the country in Texas is because guess what? I'm in El Paso right now. It's 106 degrees. We've got solar panels all over the place. On top of that, we got wind turbines all over the place as well. We have a ton of renewable resources. So that's why it's so darn cheap. And that's why I never understood why we didn't have more Bitcoin mining operations. And now I get it. So let's continue.
Texas operates its own power grid. It's deregulated, but it's proven to be pretty fragile during times of peak demand. The state saw rolling blackouts in the winter. It sees the same thing during heat waves like we're seeing right now.
First of all, we had one blackout during a really harsh winter in Texas. It's like one of those 20-year winters. I get it, and it did suck. It was pretty awful, I must admit. So when they start talking about, the Bitcoin miner is going to suck up all the energy, guess what? They turn off the Bitcoin mining because once you start to get so much demand, it becomes too expensive. So there's a break-even point. They're going to turn everything off, and they actually get compensated for actually not running the minings or the Bitcoin miners. So let's take a listen.
And miners say that they shut down operations in times like that because they buy energy on long-term contracts at a stable price. They can often sell it back into the market when the demand spikes and there's a premium for prices. Since they buy that energy in bulk years ahead of time, they say that they're not competing with Texans at home.
So in theory, yes, right? Everybody is using the same. If you're in ERCOT, it's 90% of Texas, 26 million customers, 8 million electric IDs, right? So meters. Everybody's using the same series of power. Are you competing with us? You're not competing with us.
That's pretty much it. I'm going to link that in the description below, but that is pretty much what's going on. We have mining operations here in Texas, which are football fields long. We've also got that are 20 feet high, as was said right there. And when I see something like this, I'm like, well, that makes a ton of sense. I can totally understand that. So what we're going to do is before we talk to Chad, the CEO of Winhouse Bitcoin mining, I want to just make mention of this one, or Winstone, excuse me. I want to make mention of this. Greg Abbott, he came out just, when was this? June 4th. So yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I'm not going to play it, but he just says, I just signed into law, this new law for blockchain, because Texas needs to be a part of this emerging industry. And I was like, well, that isn't, I've heard China say we're going to get into blockchain technology. I didn't really like that. But this just came out about a week or so after that. And what the bill provides a definition of cryptocurrency in the commercial code and provides basic legal rules for crypto companies. The virtual currency bill is similar to the digital asset bill passed in Wyoming in 2019 that has helped position it as a hub for Bitcoin investors. Abbott stated this: "Count me in as a crypto law proposal supporter. It is increasingly being used for transactions and is beginning to go mainstream as an investment. Texas should lead on this like we did with a gold depository." So this is what it really comes down to. Well, first of all, welcome to my house. As you notice, I'm not in the pool room today. It's because construction. So I've got to get those things done. But the thing right here is that I've always said that we need some kind of regulatory clarity. And if you just have somebody just go, look, this is what cryptocurrency is. This is what we can do with it. This is what the bank can do with it. This is how business can operate and hold it. And for me personally, I think it's also a good way to signal to the Bitcoin mining community is like, we're ready for you. We would like to have a ton of more jobs here. We would like to create opportunities in businesses. So that's what Texas is going to do. Come here. And we need some people like Chad Harris to kind of make this actually happen as far as infrastructure. So I'm just going to bring Chad in. He's going to explain to you exactly why infrastructure is really the next big game changer as far as Bitcoin or Bitcoin mining, and what it actually means to move people into this industry. So let's jump right in and talk to Chad. All right, everybody. So welcome here in the house. And I brought on Chad Harris. Chad, I want to say thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it, especially in these tough times.
Absolutely. Well, sometimes, hey, when you use Twitter and you reach out, what did I do? I sent you my cell phone number, didn't I?
Yeah. So yeah, Chad Harris, CEO of Windstone. I just sent him. I just sent a little post on Twitter. I said, "Hey, it sure be great if we get Chad in here to like alleviate or answer some questions." And he goes, "Just give me a call, man." And then here we are, 3 hours later, and we're doing an interview. That's the power of the internet.
That's it.
So anyhow, so here's the question I have, and it's starting to make more sense because when we talked to Ibrahim, he kind of alluded to the fact about infrastructure. And I didn't really get it too much when he was talking about the mining operations and Chinese miners coming over. And then when I saw that interview where it talked about you have an infrastructure or a warehouse or warehouses where you have 20 feet high of Bitcoin miners that are like 4, 5, 6 different football fields long. How do you do that? How do you get all these people who are coming over from China or wherever else they're coming from and be able to accommodate them to get the Bitcoin miners here, to get the actual infrastructure ready and actually have the Bitcoin network up and running again to where the hash power is what it was at before? How the heck do you do that, Chad?
So that's an interesting question, right? And so a long time ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when this started in my office in New Orleans, Louisiana, a small group of us, we made the choice to be infrastructure guys. Okay. We thought that in the future, we didn't know when the future was, but we thought in the future that would be the biggest resource that would be with the greatest demand. Right. And we actually bet it right. So, we started building this particular facility here in Rockdale, Texas, Windstone. We started in January of 2020. Okay. Right. So good Bitcoin, you can go look it up. There were times where I remember it, $4,000 and $5,000, and I was like, if it could just get to 7, right? Like we would joke, if it just gets to 7. And so, we built 125,000 square feet of building, a 300 megawatt substation with a 750 metered transmission line, and we did it in 183 days. Holy smokes. Now, okay. What's important, when we showed up here, the particular site was a 100-acre green field. Both, at the time, one of our partners, Lyle Terrio, who's the COO of Windstone, and we looked at one another. He's like, "Hey, did you know there was a forest here?" And I was like, I had no idea. It's a long story, but we were actually going somewhere else, and so I was like, I didn't even look at this site. Right. I just needed it. Yeah. And so, kind of what happens is that the scale and speed of building these facilities, a lot of people don't understand, like just to get transmission studies are 18 to 24 months at times. True. It's not an easy task. And so you hear a lot of people talking about, oh, they're coming. Oh, the phone calls that I get, literally, I had someone show up on Monday and they were like, yeah, we want 200 megawatts. And I'm like, in 2023? I mean, that was my answer. In 2023, it's because, we're building here currently and we have a lot of capacity that we're building, but it's for other purposes. And so, and everyone seems that, oh, I can just go to Texas because they have lots of power.
And lots of land.
And it's not, those two things always don't equal the same thing.
That makes
right?
sense.
You have to have transmission studies. Do you have the right components, right? Is it, let's say it's Encore. Does Encore Can they give you the distribution? Can you get a power contract? Are you inside a city, outside of a city? I mean, there's so many parts to it that I just don't think people understand what it really takes. And like our buildings are 63,000 square feet.
Big time. Yeah.
They're massive. And so, you know, you saw bits and pieces in that CNBC video, and our shelving is 20 plus feet tall. We build it ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Like we do all the work ourselves. We have a full entire staff. We have engineers, teams, construction guys. We own cranes because we know that in order to do this at scale,
it's going to be,
heck, you have to have all the stuff, right? And so that's where we made that choice a long time ago. And it's people that are trying to figure out how to do it today. They don't realize that it's going to take them 2 years to pull it off.
So, okay. So now this makes sense. So like when I was talking to Ibrahim, I said, shouldn't these Chinese miners have seen the writing on the wall and been a little bit more proactive and reactive? He goes, well, they thought that was going to happen, but they thought they could handle it. And now I see what's happening. They're coming over here and they're like, oh, well, you can just do it because, there's all this land and we hear about all this energy, but you can't. And I think so let me ask you this question. So if you're an independent miner, somebody at your house or in your apartment or something like this, would this be a good time? Because if the terashes are dropping because all the different miners in China can't mine, wouldn't that the difficulty drop dramatically to where actually an individual miner could actually be profitable these days as opposed to 6 months ago?
So, when we talked on the phone, and I did say that I'm really an infrastructure guy.
Oh, that's right. You're an infrastructure guy.
I'm an infrastructure guy, but I do like, it's simple math, right?
Yeah.
So the hash rate drops, the difficulty drops, and everybody earns more Bitcoin. The price might not dictate the same profit percentage,
right?
But you end up with more if you held it, right? So I think that's like it's supply and demand. It's exactly why this component works in this business.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense. So I can see that. And then like I was thinking about like with Amazon, the reason why Amazon dominates is because globally they went around and go, we need warehouses. And it doesn't matter how much it costs, we're going to get those warehouses and we're going to grow. And that's exactly what they did. I think that's exactly what's going to happen here with Bitcoin mining. If you cannot get the infrastructure right and you can't get the layout and the whole heating component and how, exactly to cut your costs for electricity, you're not going to make it. So now I see the power of having the right infrastructure in place first before going out and doing the rest of it.
It's interesting that you say that. Is that I want to go back 1 second to there's a touch point that I want to hit. Is that one of the big things, and we do is we've been called on by like dozens of Chinese miners.
Yes,
guys out of Kazakhstan, you name it. And for Whinstone, we have like a real set rules, right? So as a U.S. company, we ask that anyone that we do business with, obviously we have to know who are the customers, right? So we're like, hey, it needs to be a U.S. entity. We need you to be registered in the state of Texas. You need to follow all the rules and regulations, right? And so what that does is it quickly helps you understand who your customers, and it limits the field that you're going to work with, right? And so like all the people that are real serious and like enterprise type customers come to the top, and everyone else that might just be kicking tires, moves on down the road. And so then you go to the point of the importance of this long-term infrastructure program. I don't know what kind of research you've done in the US, but any major hosting company doesn't have any capacity. And so everyone is kind of in the same position where they're all trying to build these facilities. And then you have a problem with commodities, right? So steel's up, copper, all these things are hard to get your hands on. Lumber's out of this world. And so concrete's hard to get. One of the problems that we're struggling with is Tesla's building this facility down the road from us, and they put 3 concrete plants there, right? Like 3 concrete plants to fulfill their order. And so like you run into all those things, and it's happening all across America right now. So everyone's struggling. It was the guys that were doing this a couple of years ago that kind of have it in play. And I think that's what's going to happen. Is I think there's going to be a 12 to 18 month period where you won't see a lot of capacity come on, and then it'll happen.
I just thought of something. It's amazing how with Tesla and Elon, how he tweeted and we had this negative push, and then all of a sudden he talks about these renewables. We need to really look into renewables, and all of a sudden, it's funny though that Tesla has this nice little subdivision where they do solar panels. That's
Right.
pretty amazing. And then on top of that, they also have a big infrastructure in where Texas,
Right.
and they're also involved in Bitcoin. Geez, 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to get into that. And you in the comments section, let me know what you think about that, because that is an interesting prospect, especially with what Chad just talked about. Okay, so that's interesting. It's all interesting. So here's the next 2 questions I got. How, and you talked about these enterprise level people getting in and the rest of them just kind of go out and they kick tires. How much of an influx have you had with people as far as interest since early June?
So we'll even back up before that, right?
All right.
So there's been an influx for the last 6 months, over the last 6 months, and not just from multitudes of people that typical finance groups that would not typically be in this industry are starting to say, hey, this is a component that we might be interested in. Okay. And as well as, enterprise type customers that are looking to add this to their balance sheet and they're using it as an investment tool. And so as that has increased, you're starting to see, supply and demand, and it goes back to limited capacity. And so you have to try to pick really good customers. Like, it's no different than,
no,
it's no different in any business that you're in. You try to pick the customer that will work best with your culture. And our culture, Winston has a really unique culture that, we came to a town that, it's funny that we found this facility because I read a article in Wired magazine called Hard Luck Town Bet on Bitcoin and Lost. Literally, that's what drove me here. And we came here and we came every week and for 6 months until we could, arrange to have this facility start construction. And along the way, we recognized that it was going to be the people in the community that was going to help us. And so, these rural communities have some of the best workforce in America. They're highly trained, they're skilled, they're dedicated. You can't, I think some of our proudest moments here is we've had employees that have never been able to buy a car before, watch them buy new cars.
Yeah.
Our CTO demanded higher wages and forced, argued with me, to the end. And we agree. So, we pay all their health care and all these things. And it's really great. And I think that's the part that these companies have the opportunity to do is build real companies that do real things, not just mine Bitcoin. And I think that is a great, America is the greatest place there is, the United States. I mean, all you have to do is get into the ring and give it everything you have. And hopefully you're successful enough and you can move on and help others along the way.
And there's so much to pick apart there. It's great that you guys, it's job creation. It's creating that American dream, if you want to say it, if you want to go that far, but it's really just giving people that dignity to get back into the workforce and actually doing what they're good at, which is hard work and making good products. Fantastic.
Yep, it is. It's really great.
Awesome. All right, man. What I would like to do in the future is get you and Ibrahim on just a quick little update and see how things are going with both of this. But I can see where things are going. And for the Chinese people, I'm sorry for them, but the Chinese government is the one that was really just shut everything down. And in honesty, I'm glad they did it because it's all going to come this way. It's either going to come to Kazakhstan, Europe, North America. And I think this is one of the greatest places they can actually come to.
Absolutely. Hey, listen, the next time, if you want to, when you're going from El Paso to Houston, you can always make a quick stop through here. We'd love to show you the place.
Yeah, I'm going to stop by. I'm definitely going to stop by.
Absolutely.
And then Chad, okay. And the last thing I always ask is before we take off, any words of wisdom for the investor out there about what's going on in the market?
I just say, do your research, know your investment, and pay close attention.
Sounds good. All right, yep. Chad, thanks so much for calling. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's jump back. Okay, so I want to say thanks to Chad for stopping by. I really appreciate it. And there was one question that we didn't get to, and we're just gradually talking after the interview. And I said, hey, Chad, what about this renewable debate as far as energy sources? And he goes, Here in Texas, 90% of all Texans are under ERCOT, which is the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. And if you look at it, the new June spreadsheet, we actually are now at 30% using renewable resources. So whenever you turn on your light here in Texas or run Bitcoin mining power plants, 30% of that is coming from renewable source. And I go, do you have any kind of information to back that up? And he goes, yeah, sure. And he shared this website with me, and I will share it with you in the comment section. This is the Electrical Reliability Council of Texas. Let me blow this up. 90% of Texas load, more than 26 million customers. 75% of load is competitive choice customers, blah, 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 blah. But this is the big thing. Right here where it says, this is actually 2020 generating capacity. I think it's actually more now. If you take a look at natural gas, 53%. Okay. Coal, 14%. All right. See this thing called wind right here? Wind, 23%. And then you also take nuclear, 5%. Solar is 2%. It's about 30%. So about a third is coming from renewable resources. So when I tweeted it out to the car salesman, because he was so concerned about renewable resources, here you go. And we're probably only going to increase that number because all I see is wind turbines coming up. So look, that is it for today. I want to say, if you made it this far, thanks so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Give it a thumbs up if you learned something and liked it. Also, consider subscribing. A lot of things we talk about on this channel are very time sensitive, like we just talked about today. Over at Dan Clips, our second channel, we actually talk about more advancements in crypto and digital assets. So that is it.